Have you ever looked at a fancy decorative bezel and thought it was really pretty but wondered what you could do with it? Well, today I have for you a dozen ideas of things that you can do with bezels. Hey there, creative people, Sandy here. Welcome to another Friday Findings video at keepsakecrafts.net. So the kind folks at BB Craft sent me a pile of bezels, all kinds of shapes and sizes. And one thing I absolutely love about all of these ones is that they come with glass cabochons that perfectly fit on top of them. I was looking at these and thinking about all kinds of different things and realized I had quite a list going in my head. Actually, more than a dozen things I thought of that you could do with bezels. So I thought I would share some of them with you today. What I have right here are two different sets of bezels that you can get at BB Craft. There's this set with the ovals in two finishes, the goldish, antique gold and the silver, and two sizes, the larger and smaller ovals. And this is another set you can get. I just love bezels. I love the freedom of being able to create my own polymer clay bezels, but something about a nice metal bezel just kind of adds to the finished look of a piece. So these, it looks like some of these are the same ones that were over here, which is fine. It's just kind of an assortment of smaller ones. And you get the ovals and squares and rounds, and the squares have a nice bail loop. Oh, and these are actually earring findings. And I love the box that these come in. I love little organizer boxes. These are little bitty, I think 12 millimeter bezels, and they're on leverback earrings, which I think is so awesome. You can do so many things. In fact, let me get into my list. Now, one really obvious thing that you can do with bezels, and I did this long before I did any kind of jewelry making, is to insert a photo. Here's a picture of my little boys. They are now 30 and 28. When you get pictures taken, do you still get piles of these little bitty photos? I don't know. It was always a challenge wondering what to do with them, but any one of these would be a fun place. Even the big ones you could, well, I'll tell you more about that in the next step, but you could fill a bezel with a photo of your kids, your grandkids, or anyone else that's special. Or you could even do photo transfers, like this is a transfer of a photo that's on polymer clay that I did just from a picture I got on the internet. So you could put any sort of photo into a bezel. Another thing you could do is to make a paper collage. This is some scrapbook paper that I absolutely adore. You could add papers, you could add ephemera, which is like things like bits of ticket tubs, bits of ticket stubs from special events, washi tape, and make yourself a little collage that maybe has only special meaning to you. And these glass cabochons, I have to say, fit perfectly in these bezels. So if you're going to do something with the cabochons, you probably kind of want to think thin, because most of these aren't very deep. And that's maybe a 1/16 of an inch deep, but definitely some kind of paper thing. So paper collages, which could include photos. That's what I was starting to say earlier, is that if your photo is too small, you could definitely put it on a background with some paper, put other things around it to make a really nice little piece. Taking off from that idea, how about using a scrap of a special garment, like a bit of lace from a wedding gown, tuck that in, make it part of a paper collage, and have something really special for a keepsake. And continuing with the idea of keepsakes, what about a lock of baby's hair? Maybe with a bit of a special garment, or the hair of a loved one. That's actually something that has been done for a long time. People used to make jewelry. I think it was called mourning jewelry, M-O-U-R, mourning. And they would have a bit of somebody's hair tucked into a piece of jewelry. How about pouring in some beads? You could add just a little bit of glue in the bottom if you wanted to keep them in place. Beads. top it with some resin, or top it with the cabochon. These are just little 11O seed beads. You can find smaller ones. And look how beautiful that looks with the cabochon on top of it, magnifying them. I mean, that's a really simple and yet beautiful piece of jewelry. By the way, that is idea number 5. So number 1 is a photo. Number 2, a paper collage. Number 3, scrap of a special garment. Number 4, a lock of hair. Number 5, tiny beads. You could create mini mosaics with bits of baked polymer clay, bits of glass, tile. You could take those little itty bitty seed beads in different colors, and if you are a painstakingly patient kind of person, make patterns and designs. Idea number 7 is to fill your bezels with faux drusies. This is such a fun and addictive technique. It's so much fun to just see these come together, and it's so easy. Make a little room here. Oh boy, I've got all kinds of fun creative stuff here. This necklace, by the way, I call it my Mardi Gras necklace because of all the wonderful colors. This is actually a design that I made for a bonus tutorial for my patrons. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can check that out. My patrons can get up to 2 bonus tutorials every month, and I show them things I don't show elsewhere. But faux drusies, if you want to learn how to make these, they are great, and I have a video on that which I will link to up here, and you can learn how to fill your bezels with faux drusies. Another thing you can do is make your own pave style pieces. If you have epoxy clay and things like Swarovski crystals, like I've got a bunch of little ones here, you can fill your bezel with epoxy clay in any color you like. I'm partial to black because the colors really pop on the black. Then you can make yourself a little design or a composition in there. Once the epoxy clay is dry and hardened, these will be stuck in there permanently. In that same vein, you can also use flatback crystals. This is actually something I got at my local Ocean State job lot. It's an assortment of nail art crystals, and these actually have a lot of different cool shapes. There's little stars, and triangles, and some of them I can't even tell what the shapes are because they're so tiny. But you can use a little pickup tool. Again, you could use epoxy clay, or you could use something else as a base and apply these and make a different kind of pave. You could also just fill a bezel. Obviously this does not fit, but you can fill your bezels with flatback crystals. Simple enough. Just glue in. This is a sew-in one. I didn't have one that was the right size, and all of mine are rivolis with pointed backs. So faux drusies, number 7, pave pieces with epoxy clay, number 8, add flatback crystals, number 9. Idea number 10 is to fill your pieces with polymer clay veneers. Have any of you been following the folks who have been doing the 100-day challenge where they make something creative every day for 100 days? I couldn't handle it. I had too many things going on to do a challenge like that. But what a lot of the folks did to make it doable was they did something like a polymer clay veneer every day. Here are a few I have in my stash. These were just some stripy clay that was silk screened. And wouldn't that be pretty? Just with the bezel on it. I'm just throwing that on there to kind of show you. Oh, and there's a bit of retro cane that I had made into a veneer, and you could obviously find a size that's more appropriate. This, by the way, is a bit of a sneak peek. I'm going to be showing how to do this inlay technique. I first showed it in the Create Along Club. I've been getting their boxes lately and then doing tutorials showing how to use them. And this is their magic transfer paper, which is really cool and awesome. But just doing adding any kind of polymer clay veneer and then putting one of these glass cabochons over it just elevates it so much. Isn't that cool? Go through your sheets of polymer clay veneers and see what you have that might make a really great piece of jewelry. And just that crackle is gorgeous. I love that. Now here's a fun idea. How about taking 2 of these, gluing them back to back, adding something, whatever you want, on each side, and now you have a Christmas ornament. Wouldn't that make a lovely, special, personalized gift? That's idea number 11. And I've saved my absolute favorite for last because it's kind of always the first thing. Oh, here's another druzy hiding. I've got this pile of stuff on my table because I had so many ideas. The first thing I think of when I see a bezel is to sculpt something in polymer clay in it. This is a video I did a while ago. I'll link to that as well. These are bezels that I kind of created my own. This was another project for my patrons. And this is also a project I did a while ago on the YouTube channel. So I'll have links to all of these. I can only have so many links, so if you don't find it, take a look at my blog post where I'll have a link to the supplies and then all of the things I referenced here today. These are all things you can do in bezels. Obviously, these things you won't be using the glass cabochons, but these you possibly could if you had the ones that fit. And that is idea number 12. I've also seen some absolutely gorgeous work where people are sculpting itty bitty succulents and flowers, and wouldn't that be sweet on a pair of earrings like these? So if you want more information about these bezels and cabochons and such, you can go to my blog post. I will have links to all of them. I really love these sets because you get such a variety in here, and I love that you get the matching glass cabochons in there. You don't have to go searching for them. Here's another bonus idea for using cabochons, and this one is fun and also kind of addictive, and that is to add PBO paints. Here are some PBO paints that I have played with. These are paints that manipulate themselves. It's kind of cool. You put them down and they look one way, and then as they dry, they do different things, and you just get all these gorgeous effects. So that's my bonus tip, is to just drop some PBO paints in there and see what happens. And if you don't like it, most of these are deep enough, you can add a few more layers, and then when you put the cabochon on top, it really magnifies the effect. So that's a dozen plus 1 ways to use bezels, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful and inspiring. Share down in the comments other ways that you have thought of to use bezels, because I actually have more, so I'll have to make another video on that someday. If you're interested in the supplies or the videos I mentioned, click on the little tag in the upper right to go to my blog post where I'll have a supply list and links to products. And if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get great rewards and bonus tutorials for yourself. Happy creating. Bye-bye.